everyone. We have a game with the black pieces against Petrosian, rated 1378. So he plays the London system against us. And we like to attack the center with c5 on move 2, attacking the dark squares. He defends his pawn with e3, and that blocks his bishop from going back on that diagonal. So I'm going to develop a piece for free because it comes with this threat on the pawn, since the bishop has left and is no longer defending it. So white develops the knight, saying, take the pawn if you want, I dare you. But if I take the pawn, his knight's hanging, so he can't go rook b1, which is, like the normal move, because his knight would hang. So if I go here, he could jump his knight forward, aiming at the c7 square. So you could potentially run into trouble. So what do we want to do? We could do anything we want. We have lots of options. But I don't think we want to really take this, because then you have to calculate a lot of stuff and it's not worth it. You could just put a pawn in the center. That's kind of normal. But I'm going to put the pawn 1 instead of 2. It just blocks out this bishop's control over the diagonal. There's no coordination. It defends the c5 pawn. It opens up my bishop, and it doesn't make itself a target in any of the lines. Because if you put it on d5, once he takes with the c pawn, his knight and queen are attacking your central pawn. So moving it 1 in this scenario makes a lot of sense. So he just develops his knight towards the center. It's also nice that this pawn controls the knight a little bit. Okay, if we take this pawn, he still has, let's say, knight b5. But let's say after that we do something like knight a6, controlling the c7 square. He hits our queen. I mean, we could take a pawn there. You could always just play a6, which is normal, but let's just develop. I don't really want to go pawn hunting, even if it is available. Yeah, not really feeling it. Okay, so I want to just develop in castle. I want to get my dark square bishop out. Because I have my pawns like this, I don't want to get it out this way, which means that g6 is a very natural move, so that the bishop can coordinate with the pawns on this diagonal. So instead of the pawns being in the way, they're going to work together, controlling the same set of squares, which is really nice. So between the pawns, the bishop that we're going to fianchetto, the queen, we have a lot of pressure on the dark squares. And let's see how Petrosian responds. Okay, so he just calmly develops and prepares castling. Makes a lot of sense. Let's just continue with the natural follow-up to our plan, which is fianchetto and castle. I know the pawn's hanging in all the lines, but I really don't like b-pawns. It takes so much time to get and come back. So I only take them sometimes. Okay, so he castles, and his position is just very solid. We could just castle. Normal move. I'm going to throw in a6. There's no rush to castle right this turn. This stops both of his pieces from ever coming here. Now I might take the pawn. We'll see. Now that the knight can't go to b5 square, I don't have to calculate anything, so it's a lot more enticing. If the knight goes to the side, I guess you just move your queen somewhere. Okay, so he pushes past our c-pawn, gaining space in the center, but opening our bishop's diagonal. We like to see that. It also kind of makes this pawn a target. We like to see that. We could castle, we could develop our light square bishop. But what happens if we take this pawn? He defends the knight. We just develop our knight. He hits our queen. We go to a3. He goes rook up. We go here. I mean, it's fine, and I guess we're up a pawn, so we might as well. There's also other moves like knight to the side, just opening the bishop's diagonal. But let's take the pawn first. We can maybe do that next. Okay, so he attacks the queen, but the knight was undefended. So I said that rook b1 is the natural response, but the knight was hanging, so not here. So he doesn't resign. He goes e4, threatening to maybe push in the center, but then the pawn would hang, so that's not even a real threat. We're up a piece, so let's just castle. And we could just get out our two minor pieces. We can play b5 at some point. He attacks our queen. Our queen basically has to go here. I don't really see any other squares. But this square is fine enough because now it has a retreat diagonal. So it's not like he could ever win it or trap it. Also, this pawn happens to be hanging, but I don't plan on pawn hunting. I'm up a piece and a pawn. I don't want to waste time. I want to get my pieces developed. So he goes c4, blocking his own pieces. He's trying to stop b5, but I'm up a piece, so I don't need to do anything, really. So I'm just going to develop my knight towards the center. Okay, he breaks in the center now that this pawn is defended, so that was his whole idea. That's fine, but instead of taking, I'm going to move my knight and attack this bishop, which is supporting the pawn. And it unleashes an attacker. It's a very annoying move to deal with. Okay, so he lifts his queen, supporting the bishop, but it's also making contact with our queen. And our queen is undefended, so we're going to take his queen to get the turn back. He has to take with the bishop, because if he doesn't, the defender of the bishop is gone. He loses another piece, and now he resigns. Perfect. So let's go through the game. So they play a London against us, and although you know, you could just go d5, very normal move. We like to play c5. It's an interesting alternative. Still attacking the center and the dark squares. So the knight was center and development. The pawn move was center and development. The queen move is development, center, and for free. And then this is center and development. I like playing the pawn up just one here, when normally I play it up two. But whenever you put that pawn up two, whenever the d pawns are touching, that means his knight and bishop can easily use the e5 square. But putting your pawn on d6 limits the use of e5, which is interesting. But then it doesn't stop the pawn from coming to e4, so you have to, you know, it's give and take. So anyway, we just play development center. now this is development because we have to get the bishop out. If you play e6, you weaken the d6 square and you block your bishop. Not my favorite. I think and then your bishop ends up on e7, which is not the best square. I think it makes a lot more sense to develop this way. So this is a move based on development. You see, the engine says you can even just take here, take the pawn, and go down that line, but I don't even want to mess with that. So we just develop and center. I really like playing like this. Unless you can calculate like a machine or you know the line. Why bother? He castles, and now we play prophylactic move. So we have the option of developing. We also have the option of restricting our opponent's development. Both are equally good. So we stop his development, and a6 also prepares the pawn push b5, and if he lets us get that in, we're going to have really nice control and space over the queen side. So that's why the computer recommends a4. We're never going to get it in, or it'll be harder to get it in. Anyway, it also recommends it probably to trap the queen if I take, but so he pushes in the center, and it goes from an even game to -2 essentially. So this is just a big blunder apparently, and the only way to get the advantage is to take the pawn. The other lines are just equal. So okay, so they want me to take the pawn, which is what I expected, and then they want him to defend the knight, which is what I expected, right? And then I was going to go knight to the side and hit the bishop, and the bishop also hits the knight, so this is really annoying for him. He has to find the way out with the knight in the center. I'll probably just snatch the bishop, and then move the queen, or vice versa. And I was going to play something like this and look at this diagonal. You know, we have full control over the dark squares, and I would play this game. But we took the pawn, and then he just hung his knight, so -4. King safety and development. Force move. Development and center. Force move because it was hanging. Force move, queen was hanging. Free stuff. And that's the end. 20 average center pawn. Bunch of zeros. 2 inaccuracies. 94%. So a perfect game. And it's a little different than the London videos you've seen. I've played c5 in those, but in very few, or if any, have I played d6 instead of d5. So you can see different ways to play. This is a dark square strategy. I like it. It makes a lot of sense since he weakens his dark squares in a certain sense. Once he moves the bishop on move 2. So give it a try. Fianchetto your bishop. It's pretty fun. Good luck in your chess. Submit your rapid games in my Discord.